Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be doing a video on a blended stain technique that I do. Now I have put up a video in my library about this prior, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, but what I'm going to show you today is actually the technique or process that I use in order to get those long, straight, even lines. I get asked frequently when I do this look, how do I get them? So there's no real magic involved, but I wanted to show you since I have a piece in the shop right now that I'm working on for a client with this exact same look. Now I do this with blended stain and blended paint as well. Same exact process in which I apply it. So I'm just going to show you guys that today since I have to do one anyway. So let's go ahead and get started. I do want to tell you there are no special tools, there's no taping off, nothing special. It's pretty much just a steady hand and a lot of walking. I walk back and forth the entire piece with brush in hand, doing one continuous stroke. That's it. Now it does take practice. It took me time to get it down so I didn't have, squiggly lines. So it did take a little coordination to get it there. So I just want to show you guys my process and how I do it. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Okay, so here what I'm doing is applying my first coat, and I've sped it up just a little bit because you really get the gist of how my process or technique starts to take form on the second coat. So we're just going to kind of buzz right through these first steps here on the first coat, and then I'll slow it down and you guys can really see how it starts to take shape on that second coat. Here what you're seeing is the actual technique of walking back and forth, but you'll still, like I mentioned, will have not 100% complete straight lines, and we correct that on the second coat, so I'll show you guys that in just a minute.
Okay, you guys, so I'm ready for my second coat. First coat is completely dry. I let it sit overnight. And so now I'm going to go back, and this is where it really starts to take that shape. For the most part, my lines are pretty darn straight, but I'm going to show you again the process in which I do this on the large piece so you get the idea. Obviously, I can't fit the whole piece in here. It's 6 feet long, and I want to be up close so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my gray. And again, I'm just going to stress to you that walking the entire length of the piece is the key to this. So as you can see, I'm moving. Can't really see me, but you can see me. So you know that I'm taking that product and I'm completely going from start to finish. I do this with each color that I put on. Now some of you might ask, you see that the piece is painted, and yes, it is painted. So I get asked that question often. Do you stain first or do you paint first? It depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a single color stage paint, single color stain, a lot of times I will actually stain the piece first and then go back and do the paint. In this case, I did it a little bit different, but it just depends on the piece, the lines of the piece, and all kinds of things. So because this piece has these curves in it, it just was easier for me to do it this way than it was the reverse. So there's no right or wrong to how you do that. It's just a preference, and it also depends if I'm spraying parts of the piece. If I'm spraying parts of the piece, sometimes taping off and covering up when you have these lines, these curves, the way I do on this piece makes it a little difficult. And so I did spray some of this. It was a dark brown piece, and it required primer as well as several coats of white. So I sprayed that primer to get the nicest finish possible. And in doing so, I did not want to have to worry about taping off around these lines. So if I get stain on my edges, no problem. It will come off with a little mineral spirits, so easy enough. So this is going to be the first coat, or second coat I should say, of the first gray that I'm putting on. And as you see, all I'm doing is walking the piece back and forth, taking my brush, making nice even strokes all the way down. So that is it. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the gray. I will come back when I'm adding my white and my black to show you guys how that works. Okay, so the gray is all on. I'm gonna go ahead with my white coat now. And basically I'm doing the same thing. This is where your lines will really start to show through when you are using the different colors. So this is kind of where it gets important to make sure that you keep your hands steady and you walk all the way back and forth, making sure that you're taking that brush evenly each time from start to finish. You can continue to go back over that. That is the joy of this stain. And I just realized I'm not wearing an apron, which, how silly of me. These are paint clothes, but still silly. But this is the joy of this stain and finishing oil. It has a setup time of 10 to 15 minutes. So it gives you that extra workability that a lot of normal stains don't do. That's why this blended look, I think, is so successful, because you have time to work with it. So I'm gonna continue with my white, adding that as I go until I'm satisfied with the way that looks, doing the exact same motions every single time. I'm just walking back and forth the entire length of my piece, and this way it is going to get those beautiful lines in there. Now, you know, there are different versions of this look, and if you want it more rough or not having this look, then you can just have the freedom to apply how you want. I'm just showing you how to achieve the look that I do with this stain. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep going with this, and then we are going to add in the black. Okay, so this is the gray and the white. I went ahead and got my apron on. This is the gray and the white. As you can see, our lines are they're looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do my last little element, which is adding the black. Now, when I do the black, I don't wanna put a whole lot in there. So as you saw, I did the gray and the white in the entire piece. The black, I just kind of put accents in there. So I do still do the same process, putting that black all the way straight across, because even though it's only going to be a small portion of the piece that gets the black, I still want it to be those long straight lines. So with black, what I normally do, unless the client is looking for a darker color or a darker version of this, is I take that black and I only put it in about 2 or 3 spots on the piece, and then I go back with my gray or my white, whatever I'm choosing, whatever look I'm going for more, and I start to blend this out and make it look a little bit less harsh. So when you put the black in, it does have a tendency to look pretty harsh, pretty fast. So we are going to put this in 3 spots along the dresser, and then I'm going to go ahead, while I still have the workability time with this, go back with my gray. So I wanted to show you guys something. I do get asked this often. By mixing the colors, am I putting the gray into the white? No, as you can see, even though I dipped this brush in the white onto the wet gray, it's not getting in there. If it does just a tiny bit, then it's not a big deal. What I normally do then is I would take a paper towel and kind of dab into my stain and get out those gray sections, but it really doesn't. So I find that doing this method, it really doesn't, cross-contaminate the stains very much, and I don't have that issue. So now I'm taking my gray and I'm gonna go back over it doing that exact same walking the piece method, and this will be my final. I will take this, and then this will be the final one that I will do today, because I've only got about 10 to 15 minutes to work with this stain before I need to basically walk away and leave it alone. Now, with the stain and finishing oils, they do say 10 to 15 minutes and then come back and then you can wipe it off. With this, because I don't want to wipe off my blended design, what I do is I take another one of these, a big guy, and I come back and wipe off the excess. I do not wipe it back with a rag. I have done this probably 2 or 3 dozen times, and it comes out absolutely beautiful. If you were to take a white rag right now, that 15 minutes later, and wipe this back, you may have the chance of taking away your beautiful design, and I don't want to do that. So all I do is I take a dry foam brush and I come back and I wipe away whatever excess is on there that I don't want to be on there at the end. So that is that. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off camera, continuing to blend. As you can see, I haven't even dipped my brush back in to my gray at this point because there's enough stain on the piece that I'm able to work with it and blend it evenly without having to add too much more. So total preference on the way you want it to look, but this is kind of starting to take shape, and as soon as it's done, I'll show you. Okay, so here we are. We're done with the second coat, and as you can see, you can tell that my walk in the piece method really works. Gives you those nice, long, even strokes, straight. Now, I want to show you guys a little something extra. I talked about getting stain on the piece, so that is freshly painted. And I want you to not worry because I'm going to show you that it really does come out of the piece. I did get it in a couple of spots, and I'm going to show you guys how to get that out. Okay, as promised, I'm going to show you guys what I do next. Now, keep in mind, this stain has been on there a good 25 minutes because I've been working with this probably about 15 minutes and then had to clean up a little bit and get my mineral spirits. So all I do is I take a clean rag, keeping my gloves on with my mineral spirits, and I literally, not hard because you don't want to push super hard into the paint, but look, it's taking it right off. So that's my little solution or fix when you're painting and staining and you choose to paint first and then you've got to go back and get that stain off. Do not push really hard. You will not affect the paint if you don't push hard. This piece is painted and sealed already, so I have very little chance of messing up that paint. If I do, then I go back with a little touch-up and I touch it up. But as you can see, I can get a nice, clean, even line, and I can clean up all that stain around my piece and I'm good to go. So I'm gonna keep working on that, getting off the rest of the stain while I can, and then we'll get back together. Okay guys, that is it. We are at the end of the video. I hope that was helpful for you and was able to shine some light on how I get my nice, long, even, straight strokes with this type of a blended look. And as I mentioned, you can do this with the paint or the stain. I do it exactly the same. No special tools, no taping, no measuring, nothing. It's just getting the coordination between having a steady hand and walking that piece back and forth. So if you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave them down below. I will definitely get back to you if you have any questions, and I appreciate all of your positive comments. And I do want to mention one other thing. Right now, I do have a free ebook for you guys. It is on my website. So if you go to www.borninabarnboutique.net and you go to the ebook on the menu, once you sign up with your email, it sends you an automatic email back with the download link for you, completely free. It's 5 years of tips and tricks of things I've learned, my experiences over the years for you guys. I totally enjoyed writing that, and I hope that you enjoy reading it. Thank you so much for being subscribers. Keep subscribing so you can get all of my videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.